Can you hear how this and this and this part right here are all three related? If you've been around classical music much, you probably have heard people say Beethoven is the master of development. He can take a theme and do more with it, craft entire pieces or maybe symphonies out of such a small set of notes because he's so good at developing motives. And if none of that makes sense to you, perfect. You've come to the right place. We're going to be looking at the first movement of his final sonata, and a large chunk of this piece is derived from a very small set of notes. But before we get to that main theme and really kicking off the sonata, Beethoven starts with a slow introduction. Now, while this introduction isn't the main focus of the video, I want to give you a way to think about it in case this has always confused you. This is a lot like Pathetique Sonata, which starts. And I don't just say that because it's in the key of C minor. I mean, they are both in the same key, but they both start off with a slow introduction with lots of dotted rhythms. It starts wandering through all these keys, like right here. So think about this slow introduction as Beethoven's way of saying, hey, this piece is going to be epic. I'm going to set the mood here. But again, the focus of this video is going to be this crazy theme, which happens right here at the end of this intro. And that is our main melody we're going to be talking about right there. You can tell the piece has really gotten off the ground now. Beethoven changes the tempo, and also there's a very clear tune. Whereas before, that intro doesn't have as much you can sort of hold on to melodically, but this. But you notice it takes Beethoven 3 attempts to do this. First, he gets this. Pause. Let's try again and add 2 notes. Didn't quite make it again. There's a fermata this time. We're going to try again and add even more notes. And then Beethoven immediately takes the second half of that melody and turns it into sort of a transitional feeling thing where we get a bunch of fast running notes based on the second half of that melody. What's this? We immediately restate the melody. We had a fun transition, then we get to here. You should recognize this by now. We just did the melody again. And even this run right here. Can you hear that? That's actually on the very top. Sorry, it's an octave higher, but my computer's kind of in my way here. It's still based on that original tune. Now, before we go on and see the different ways that Beethoven fragments and develops this melody, let's talk about it a little more. We had C, E flat, B is the main thing. In the second half, pay attention here, starts from A flat, then walks straight down, then has one sort of hook that goes back up to E flat. And that's really important, not necessarily because it makes the melody the most brilliant melody later, but it will help you recognize the melody when it comes up later. We march down, one time hook back up. So what we're going to be on the lookout for in this piece is either these intervals somewhere or this kind of contour of going down with one skip back up. And here's our next appearance of the melody. I think this is where some of you might start to kind of lose it, but like a fugue, at this point, Beethoven is still starting really clearly. I say like a fugue because you get those first 3 notes right, your ear already kind of gets tuned to it, but then we get this. I can see someone kind of casually looking at this and saying, oh, the first 3 notes are the tune, but then after that, Beethoven just writes new notes. But that's why it took some time to make sure you really understood the melody before. It went from A flat and marched down to D and then did the go back up to E flat thing, right? Well, check out what Beethoven did here. A flat, F, E flat, hook back up. If you ever wondered why Beethoven didn't write why the pattern breaks, he does it twice and then restates the E flat. Well, that's because that's what he did earlier. He restated the E flat move. So this is just our original melody with more 16th notes. So what hasn't Beethoven done yet with our melody? He's taken it, he's chopped the second half off and restated it in cool arpeggios. He's now restated the melody and added 16th notes into it. So what's in store next? Did you hear it? He hasn't changed keys yet. The bass right here went right. That is our original tune. The intervals have changed slightly because he's no longer in minor, but now he's in major. Now, I want to point out something here. This recording in particular, it sounds like the melody goes and then switches to the right hand. Everyone can have their own interpretation of it. You could say, hey, I want the right hand melody to come out there. But I tend to look at this and say, well, up here, the left hand actually did that, while the right hand had our sped up main melody. So the way I like to look at this is the roles have just been switched. The right hand is not playing the melody in my mind. The left hand and then you do it a little higher, and then higher, and then a little higher. Now, of course, it's easier to be me, like the person filming a video saying, I think they should have made this the melody, just like it's easy to leave a YouTube comment and say, why didn't you bring out the melody here? It's much more difficult to be the person who actually put the time in to make a recording of the piece. So people have different opinions, but I like to kind of hear the melody being tracked there. Regardless, listen to what happens at the end of this melody. And this is now becoming extreme fragmentation. And this is where stuff gets really cool. So instead of doing this and then feeling the need to finish up the melody, he just does this and says, that's good enough. New key. New key. So that's when we think of fragmentation and kind of that accelerando effect. That's what we're talking about, because you're like, you don't even get to finish the melody. You just do 3 notes and you just jump onto the 3 notes again, jump onto the 3 notes again. It kind of feels like stretto in a fugue. Stretto is the idea of the fugue stuff just coming in too early and cutting the other ones off. And then we start the development section. If you're not familiar with development sections, I mean, we've been talking about development this whole piece, developing a motive, developing a theme, fragmenting it, doing cool stuff with it. Well, development sections are literally there to develop stuff. I mean, Beethoven is great at development sections. What we expect in this section is to take our original tunes and do stuff with them, go through crazy keys, and eventually crash back to the beginning of the piece. Development sections are here to build a lot of drama and then build the excitement so that when you get back to the beginning, you're like, yeah, feels good. So let's see what Beethoven does in this development section. I like how this development starts out, making you think it's going to be major. Oh, it's going to be pretty. Oh, once again, fragment it. We're not letting the melody finish. We're not letting the whole entire melody get out before we go on to the next part. But one of the coolest things is about to happen right now. I'm hoping that was just like wild for your brain. You just went into overload and you couldn't make sense of anything because, then you have a good reason to support the channel and like and share the videos with people because you're like, Ryan really helps make sense of this confusing music to me. Let's do the obvious one first. The left hand does this, which is not a note for note transposition of our original melody, but it's close. Instead of, we get, but that's probably the easier one to understand. The way cooler one, the thing that you can miss if you're not really paying attention, is check this out. This isn't enough to say it's our main melody. Like, that's definitely more in the left hand down here at the quarter notes. But the right hand, if you take those half notes and play them twice as fast as quarter notes, you can tell it's definitely related to our original. Here's twice as fast. And then. So he's kind of taken those main three notes, doubled them, augmented them into half notes, and then added the little trill. Instead of going up a sixth to go, he's gone, and then just trill, and then start a new one. So he's kind of taking the original three notes and layering it over top the three notes at a faster speed. Let's give that another listen, see what your ears can do with it. And now we have like the original thing on drugs, right? Remember earlier we did just the three notes. We kind of fragmented just the three notes. Right here. Again. Well, now we're doing that same thing except with giant, huge clashy chords every time within arpeggios in the left hand. Now you might be thinking, what could be more dramatic than this? Like, this seems pretty peak. This seems pretty loud. Like, I mean, have we gotten to the most we can get to? Yeah, in a sense, we have. This is our recap. The idea of the development section is to build and build and build in drama and then culminate to the recap. And sometimes Beethoven does that by kind of subverting the expectation and coming back calmly. This is just the rise and rise and rise. This section has been getting crazier and crazier. We have the big giant chords in arpeggios, and then we just crash back into the beginning chord. And I love that oscillating hand figure he just not introduced because that wasn't in the exposition. Already in the recap now, we have something new. What we did earlier in the exposition was this oscillating octave in just the right hand. The computer, again, is in my way, but it's actually much easier to split it up between the hands, like. But also you can get a lot more volume and power because each hand is just playing full on octaves. Now, lots of this recap does exactly what you expect a recap to do, which is rehash the exposition. Some of the same themes, the fragmentation we saw, the 16th note version, all those things make an appearance again in the recap. But I want to take a second and bring your attention to this melody we haven't focused on much yet. The first time around, it sounded like this. Now we get this. Now, in a sense, Beethoven doesn't have to do anything else with this melody. We did it in the exposition, now we've done it in a different key in the recap, and really this piece has been more about developing But Beethoven's going to show us that he even cares about the lesser theme as well. Check this out. So Beethoven utilizes the secondary melody in the left hand to sort of begin this huge build to the final page. And then right here, kind of at the end, we get these humongous syncopated chords, and you can totally hear them as Once again, really harping on those three key notes for a melody to set up the end of the piece. And in typical Beethovenian fashion, you never know, no matter how dramatic or scary the piece, whether it's going to end on giant, humongous minor chords or shift to major and set up one of the most beautiful final movements of any sonata by any composer ever. But that's a topic for another video. Hopefully you've enjoyed seeing how Beethoven takes these small ideas, motives, themes, chops them up, fragments them, augments them, does different things with them, and crafts an entire piece out of really a small set of notes. That is why we call him the master of development. See you guys next video.